A lot of people, when they hear Rwanda, they hear genocide. But that's something that happened and is no longer happening.
Decades of tension between Hutu and Tutsi, fueled by hate-filled propaganda, erupted in April 1994. Organized and led by the extremist Hutu-controlled government, well-armed gangs began systematically killing Tutsi and moderate Hutu men, women, and children. 1 million people were killed in 100 days. Neighbors slaughtered neighbors. Friends murdered friends. The genocide ended on July 4, 1994, when forces from the Rwanda Patriotic Front liberated the capital city of Kigali. 25 years later, the people of Rwanda continue to heal and reconcile. Mass graves at genocide memorials, some containing the remains of thousands of victims, provide a stark reminder of this terrible period. You hear about what happened and you hear facts and statistics. It doesn't really hit you until you're really there and you see the names of people and the ages and how they were killed, and it really gets to you.
I think the people of Rwanda have opened up a window for us to really understand what does it mean for a people to fully embrace their history, not ignore it, not say it didn't happen, but to learn from it. For young people in the United States right now, it's a historical moment for us. I think we live in a world where we see a lot of violence. And I think what's important for us is to figure out how can we come back, how can we rebuild, how can we empower and take charge of our own communities.
Harimo ubujiji. Ubujiji ni indwara ikomeye cyane. Kandi u Rwanda kubera ikandamiza n'ubutegetsi bubi ntabwo abantu bari barize. Abantu benshi ntabwo bari barize. Noneho kubwira umuturage ko niyica ibintu byose by'umututsi biri bube ibye, burya inda ni ikintu kibi cyane. Iyo ufite inda nini ikakurenga igukoresha ibintu bibi, bubonera ahantu bushobora gufatira abantu mu kintu. Imyaka myinshi baracyumvise ko umututsi ari mubi, urumva harimo yanda ako akaza n'ubujiji, aho ubwira umuntu kwica mugenzi we akumva ko ari ibintu by'ibikinisho ko nta kibazo, kubera ko datekereza ese wenda si umuntu nkanjye.
Where are you suffering from? From Tutsi. That's in the newspaper as well.
A genocide is preventable. Violence is preventable. And this is the right time that people should think of a world free of violence and discriminations. And I've listened to the people that regret having participated in the genocide. I've listened to the people who survived the genocide. I did as well. And then I get to somehow understand the person, like how the person has gone from being a human being with values of, that he's supposed to be or she's supposed to be having, and turn into a killer. But I've listened to the people as well who have gone from being that killer and restore the spirit of humanity and come back to normal. So it's a practice that is daily, that has challenges that are very enormous, but I do it with an open heart.
I think for our peace builders, we're going to have a different understanding of what it means to be trauma informed. What does it mean to reconcile, knowing that awful things have happened? This idea of forgiveness. I've never thought about forgiveness the way I think about it now, being here in Rwanda. I think the people that live on these hills have been through a lot, and I don't know how on earth can people walk and still be able to look at each other as fellow human beings. That idea is completely alien to me. But another thing too that I've learned from the people of Rwanda is that forgiveness is not a destination. It's not something that you do or just arrive at. It's a process. And it's something that you work on every day. And I think for us in Chicago, we have a lot to learn about what it means to forgive, what it means to reconcile.
It's a big journey. It's a big journey for people to forgive. There are some people who can't understand why they did that, who lost almost every member of their families, who still have that pain on their heart. So it's not easy for them to forgive. But when you come to a time to realize that forgiving will give yourself to be at ease, at peace, you just forgive.
The first step to forgive is to accept what has happened. What's done is done, and then you have to work on yourself to how to go through it in a positive way.
Living life the best way you can and just appreciating life for what it is. Forgiveness plays a role in that because once you forgive somebody, you're like basically starting your route to healing yourself. And once you heal, then you can appreciate life a lot more and not walk around with hatred in your heart for somebody else. You can appreciate life and love others.
I was a very depressed woman with no hope, not wanting to live, but after I forgive, I felt like, I want to live again.
On the afternoon of our fourth day in Rwanda, we visited Gweru, one of 6 reconciliation villages where genocide survivors and perpetrators live alongside one another. It was there that we met Maria, a 61-year-old survivor, and Filbert, a 44-year-old man who as a 19-year-old killed Maria's husband and 3 of her children.
At the reconciliation village, I had a lot of conflicting feelings. Like I didn't know whether to feel angry and like mad, but then I didn't know whether to feel like at peace with myself and like at peace with them. But at the same time, I wanted to feel like, okay, let me just be here in the moment and really understand their testimonies from both the victim and the perpetrator. Sometimes it's best to just be there and just to hear.
When we asked this lady, Maria, why would you invite the guy who killed your husband and kids to your wedding? Why would you not just invite him? Why would you make him the MC? I'm thinking your family, you're just upsetting the family by doing that. And she says, it's my home.
I couldn't believe that they could be so close again after having such different paths in life and that take them very different ways, being a survivor of a genocide versus being a perpetrator of a genocide. I don't know if I would be strong enough to forgive something like that, but I was really inspired by the courage of Maria, the strength that she has as a person to forgive someone like that and to allow forgiveness so that their community can grow.
We can introduce them to people. We can introduce them to stories, people of courage, people who don't give up, people who really buck the norm because they believe it's the right thing to do. Introducing them to people like that and to stories like that, that's valuable. And then hopefully they'll understand how powerful their story is.
One of the peace champions grew up without a father, and I grew up kind of without a mother. And it was like, okay, I was thinking that when I came here and when I met them that we'll have totally different experiences and we'll be going through totally different things. And so it was like, it took a lump out of my chest to find someone who connected with me. Carl told me recently that forgiveness means no longer looking down on that situation or the person. And it kind of really stuck with me. Based off of my personal experiences with my mother, I spent countless years disliking her, countless years blaming myself for the reason of her not being in my life. And so when I heard that forgiveness is not linear, and when I heard that forgiveness means you're healing and you're no longer looking down on that person, it was it was touching for me because it was the idea that once I can forgive her, I can move on. Once I can forgive her, then I can feel better about myself.
Rhea took 10 years to forgive Filbert, and I think a lot of it is just time, and she saw effort that Filbert put in, you know, to just say hi to her. Even if Maria wouldn't say hi back, he would go out of his way to say hi to her. And I think for me to forgive someone, I would need to see effort be put in by the perpetrators to want forgiveness.
The one thing that's going to stick with me going back to East Garfield Park is the conversation I had with the peace champion. He told me about his father and how he didn't want to let his father's actions determine his future.
Kids who are born after genocide, having to deal with our past, our history, most of them carry a trauma that they inherited from their parents. So it's a big challenge having to deal with something you didn't cause yourself, and even finding yourself being traumatized to things you didn't even see, because it does not make sense.
Back at home in Chicago, like all the trauma that we go through, kids and teenagers, we become like desensitized to it, which is not good. It really makes you think about some of the choices that you make. Am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things?
Los jóvenes tienen un voz y creo que cuando los jóvenes tienen un voz, entonces sí se puede hacer un cambio. Y creo que aquí en Rwanda sí hubo muchos cambios.
It's really important to educate youngsters on their past and their history so they can learn from it, especially because I think a big theme of afterwards, never again, you know, we can't let this happen again.
Young kids, young people are the hope of a country that is destroyed like Rwanda was. It's up to us to choose what to do and to choose better so that history will not repeat itself.
When we were at the Gashora all-girls school, the girl next to me, Joanna, she said something that really resonated with me. I'm going to live my truth. She's not going to live by anyone else's truth. She's not going to do something out of convenience. She's not going to live by something that she doesn't believe in so that she can fit in. She's going to do what she believes is right.
Never forget that every one of us has something to offer. It may, in your estimate, look little, but you don't know the value it is bringing to the community around you. It's in those tiny little things that we build over time that make peace.
Step back. Come on. Don't be embarrassed of us like that.
Dance and art in general is a way to express yourself.
Dancing means everything to me. Dancing is how I found my self-confidence. Dancing is how I'm growing into the woman I am today. I mean, before I started dancing, I didn't really know who I was. I was just here, but who is Micah? I didn't really know.
I think it was a very interesting way to see these people that don't speak the same language. Like sometimes I would leave my auntie with them. They could communicate. I don't know how, but they did. And I'm glad that you can see that when there's intentionality in whatever you're doing, that love goes beyond boundaries of language, of culture, and that people can actually understand each other even when they don't understand each other.
I really love the homestay. I call her Mama Benny. She treated me like I was her own child.
No one at home wanted them to go. My auntie would be like, tell them I don't want them to go. I want them to stay forever. And she told me to 3 times. And I was like, I'm not gonna repeat the same word so many times. I think they actually heard what you said. My dad was calling them his daughters. Guess now my dad has more kids and the love is being divided into so many pieces. I don't know where we are.
One thing I know about peace is motivated by love. If you have love, it means peace is around you. Let's show our community, let's show them that we have a love to share.
In the past years, commemoration period used to be a very traumatic experience. I'm not saying that it's no longer, but we are on 25 years after. When we look back, we don't go back to cry and, you know, we look back and thank God. We look back and feel proud of where we are today. We look back and regardless of what has happened, peace is possible. People can live again. We actually have a saying now, twarirokoke, which means we've survived. Not just survived death, but we've also survived life. We have a good life now, so we are proud of where we are today, and we are very hopeful to see what the future holds for us.
Violence can never be resolved by another violence. And somewhere, somehow, there's one person that needs to stand against that cycle, and that person becomes the, you know, pioneer of a, you know, of a new future. Chicago peace builders, go and be the voice. Tell them what you have seen. Peace can be possible. It starts with one person, and then another one, and then another one, and then a family, and then a country, you know, then everyone.